All right, you guys, happy Monday. I hope all of the fathers out there had an amazing Father's Day weekend. All the dads that are actually good fathers, I should say. If you're a bum, you don't count. You have to do better. Anyway, I would like to formally announce at the top of the show that you guys were correct. I am with child. I'm expecting another child. A lot of you guys had sussed that out genuinely within the first 4 weeks of my pregnancy. I actually found out, I am not kidding, that I was pregnant from you guys. You guys were in the comments. You were asking questions. You were like, Candace has a very unique attitude that she's known to have when she's pregnant with a boy. It's kind of sus. I think she's pregnant. Yes, you were correct. I learned from you. And then I found out that that is indeed the reason, as it always is, that I grow sort of increasingly violent when I am, something about growing a boy inside of you that makes you want to aggress. That's how I feel. I don't understand it, but I want to physically fight people. The more pregnant I become, I want to physically fight people. There's nothing I can do about it. It's a condition. And yeah, a lot that we're going to unpack today, but I wanted to get that done at the top of the show. Let you guys know that you are really annoying for knowing first. I shouldn't be finding this out from the internet. Who do you guys think you are? Clearly, you know me better than I know myself. Anyway, welcome back to Candace. Okay, I also want to mention here that I was pregnant, truly a victim, when my foot was broken and Cabot Phillips accosted me on the toddler playground. Never forget what Cabot Phillips did to me in my early pregnancy with a broken foot. Accosted. I'll never let it go, Cabot. I'll never let it go. Anyway, over this weekend, something else happened. I was actually on Friday recording at Sean Ryan's studio, his podcast studio, and he lives down the road from me, was having a good time. Came out and realized, because he does the long format podcast, I think like 4 hours, that there was a death hoax. And I had all of these messages from people, my mom, my dad, my aunt, everyone that I know asking me to post a sign of life, because apparently there was this combo that some girl posted and then deleted that I passed away. And then on top of that, there was some like obituary website that said that I was going to die on Sunday. So listed my date of death as Sunday, which is totally crazy. I don't know. I think people do these things to get into your head psychologically. I did not die this weekend. People were then emailing me saying, don't go out on Sunday because this pre-obituary exists. I did not slow down my weekend in any way at all. I just don't live in that, I guess, that vein of fear because it's just unhealthy. And every day we get emails of people asking me, don't go, don't travel, don't do this. You can't. I can't live in a cage. Bird can't fly in a cage. So I did a lot of things this weekend, but dying was not one of them. In fact, it's the opposite. I'm growing life. So be happy, smile. It's great. I did indeed, however, sit down with Sean Ryan for a very long interview, which will be dropping soon and is sure to make a lot of heads explode because we covered everything. I mean, from my background to my beliefs to Charlie's assassination, obviously, to his widow. Nothing was off limits because I never give people any limits when they interview me. I'm an open book. That's what I'm doing here on the podcast. I will say, however, that he seemed a little bit surprised to learn that his one-time guest, Brian Harpole, is suing me and extraordinarily trying to spin this tale in the courts that the only reason he was forced to go on the Sean Ryan show, thereby making him a limited public figure, was because of me and my harassment, despite the fact that I never uttered his name before he went on the Sean Ryan show and had that disaster of an interview. So it'll be interesting to see if Sean Ryan ends up in this lawsuit because they have a totally different memory of how he ended up on that show. Interesting. Liars lie all the time and get caught. But something else very curious happened, okay? I gotta tell you this. It's always the production team that you want to talk to when you do these sorts of things. They know things. They have secrets. Never underestimate the producer, the cameraman, the control room, the lighting director. They see and they hear everything. They're basically intel everywhere, okay? And I always make small chat with that, just like, hey, who are you from? I just like to know who everybody is. And he had a really fantastic team, by the way, like really just had it together. But they did tell me something that was frankly disturbing. Okay. So Sean Ryan has this really amazing, like his studio, you don't get the full effect of it on his show. It's basically like a museum. And so people want to contribute to the museum. He's got all sorts of artifacts. I can't even begin to describe it because I feel like I wouldn't do it any justice, of people who have, who have lived through certain things or survived things, various missions, a lot of military stuff. And they get it over to him and he puts it up in the museum. Well, someone on the team, on Sean Ryan's team, told me that after seeing this museum, Brian Harpole wanted to contribute to it. And he offered Sean Ryan Charlie Kirk's blood on his bag as a gift. So, the crossbody purse looking thing. Like I said, this is like, it wasn't a man purse. It was his, like, I don't know. One of the things he sued me over is because I described it accurately. The crossbody bag. And then he went to Charlie after Charlie got hit. He offered that bag with the blood still on it to Sean Ryan. And it was declined for obvious reasons, because it's weird to offer that to somebody as a gift. Who would want that? Why would you offer that? It's very strange. I need to share that. I need to get that off my chest. Second thing that they said, which was kind of just in passing that I thought was strange, was that sometime after Brian Harpole's interview, they almost interviewed Erika Kirk. They were in communication, rather. They were in conversation to potentially interview Erika Kirk. Not weird. She did do a bunch of interviews. Obviously, she was promoting Charlie's book. What I thought was odd was that they were in communication to book that with Terryl Farnsworth, the guy who announced on camera that Charlie was dead, the guy who took down the camera, the guy who runs the audiovisual company. I'm like, why would he be doing any bookings for Erika? That's very strange. It's actually very interesting why the audiovisual guy would be involved in bookings at all. Remember, we explored this question of when did Erika and Terryl get so close? When did they get to know each other? If you watched our series, Bride of Charlie, you know that the Farnsworth family clan is a bit like a little deep Mormon mafia. Grew up with Tyler Boyer's family, Chandler, Arizona. They all went to high school together, thick as thieves, so to speak. And Eddie Farnsworth and his brother were one of the ones who brought Lori Franzfey into those government contracts in Arizona. This is before Erika met Charlie. This means Erika and the Farnsworth family, Tyler Boyer, their relationships predate Erika's relationship with Charlie. That is a fact. That is literally recorded. If you look into the Arizona congressional files, you can see Lori presenting on the House floor with her second husband, Larry Ginta, actually third husband, Larry Ginta, and Erika's stepfather. This is just a fact. So something that's interesting is, in case you don't know this, Turning Point's campus has 6 buildings in total. We're not giving you anything that's not available through a quick Google search. It's on Google Maps. And Charlie's building, the one that his podcast functions out of and has his podcasting team, Colvette's team, and it used to have Terryl Farnsworth's team upstairs. But in mid-July, so shortly before Charlie's assassination, he had Terrell's team kicked out of the office of his building. Why? I'm not sure. I don't know if it was because they were angry. I don't know what was going through Charlie's head, but he had been there for a while and then he had them moved. On July 24th, Terrell's team, at Charlie's request, was removed from the building. Now, I'm entering in that data point in case it's relevant down the line. What we know is that, oddly, he was immediately welcomed back into the building following Charlie's death. We know this because Terryl is the one that is standing behind Erika during her first Zoom call to the team. The 6 days after Charlie was assassinated, she's not in bed crying. She is at the office in the Charlie Kirk building, and it is Terryl that is standing behind her. Here's a still photo from that moment just to remind you. You can see that person in the corner. That's Terryl. That's the camera guy. The fam is back together. Terryl Farnsworth, in my view, was not just suddenly shadowing Charlie on these little college campus events because they were trying something new, as he said. In my opinion, his new presence always has disturbed me. His reaction to Charlie dying, obviously disturbing. His excuses thereafter for why he rushed to take specifically the SD card out from the camera behind Charlie's head always disturbed me, right? I've never, ever, ever thought he was telling the truth. I spoke to Erika. I didn't want her to relive Charlie dying. That's what he said. Then we find out that there was nothing gory on that particular film because the bullet didn't go through. So that's actually what they were hiding, in my opinion. The entire thing, his presence feels off, okay? Just feels off to me. And when we look into the team that Terryl brought that day, I just don't like it. I don't like that we were recently able to identify, as we did, Philip Goldsberry. I've also, by the way, identified who one of the ops were from back home. Remember, I told you there are apparently some ops who were watching the live stream. I've been able to verify one name, okay? And I'm going to pull up this graphic and tell you about this visual impulse team, okay? So we know Terryl, he's there at the top. Brian Farnsworth is his brother. Philip Goldsberry Jr., we told you about him. His father is the pastor who, of course, started a charity, Global Ministries in Romania, because why wouldn't he? Everybody's doing that. Everybody's helping the orphans in Romania. That's what everybody does here. This person, Parker Edwards, who we don't have a photo that we thought was appropriate to show because it showed his entire family. But Parker Edwards, we just dug into this guy, and it turns out that he went to the same high school as Terryl Farnsworth. This is like, they all know each other. They all graduated from the same high school. Their families are families. They had been friends for years. He effectively grew up with the Farnsworth clan. And so that's interesting that he's there on the ground that day. Also, his brother, Aaron Edwards, worked for Visual Impulse as well, went to the same high school, also went to Arizona State University. They all know each other. And the Farnsworth is a very powerful family, powerful Mormon family. And then there's this guy, Robert Golo, who I would like to know more about, okay? He was brought on, I am told, of course, after I stopped touring with Charlie, when they started doing the redundancy of the microphone in 2024. He's actually from Liberia and then moved to Arizona, has been working obviously in audio and visual. He's been the guy behind the camera. He's the guy standing next to Terryl when Charlie gets hit, which I will now be saying. I'm not going to say shot because that doesn't feel right to me, but he's the one that's next to him. And then he runs off, and he was a new hire, so to speak, within the year before Charlie died. And so I would just like to know more about him because we do have a lot of fans in Africa. Maybe people know more. He has never spoken out about what he saw. He kind of went away. I think he is still working in some capacity with Turning Point USA. But if you know anything about Robert Golo and his involvement, we would love to hear from you. More tips at CandaceOwens.com. Every detail matters. Now, we told you guys that the mic explosion theory, in our view, has infinitely more evidence. It offers infinitely more sensible explanations for all the odd things that took place that day. We put together that list for you, from them not bringing the bomb dogs over to that area, quickly paving over the crime scene, the shattered, what looks like ABS glass that's in the back of or plastic that's in the back of the car. We also forgot to include something else that we can now add to our growing list of things that suddenly make sense when we consider that it was a shaped charge with a patent explosive packed into it, right? Shaped charge. I think the best way to think of it, if you can't comprehend it, is almost like a firework. Like you can direct it up and it explodes, but you can't like perfectly direct it and say, hit right here. Anyway, one of the other bizarre things that took place is that the people who immediately testified after Charlie got hit said that they saw Charlie get shot in the chest. It was one of the things that we actually covered almost immediately after the shooting on this show, was that many of the people who spoke to the news were all bizarrely somehow politically connected. So we started profiling these people, and we found out this person, Tiffany Barker, I think was one of the names. Actually, she was working on Phil Lyman's campaign. Phil Lyman was out there testifying. Everything just felt weird and organized, and so we covered it. And we forgot that many people were saying that Charlie got hit in the chest. It was almost like they didn't look. It was very obvious where he got hit, anybody who looked at him. So why did they suddenly run to cameras and say that they saw Charlie get hit in the chest, right? Never an answer for that. I want you guys to take a listen to these people who tried to convincingly sell that he got hit in the chest.
I heard a loud bang, which I figured a shot would be a little bit louder, but I just saw it hit him in the chest, and then all of a sudden just tons of blood gushing right out where his heart is, and then he like fell over and slumped down, and everybody got down and was screaming, and then we all ran.
It was a direct shot to the heart. It looked like right where his heart is, it started going red. He fell back and went to his side, and then I looked down at the crowd, and it looked like the crowd, they all went to their knees really fast.
When I heard the first gunshot go off, all of a sudden I just saw an eruption of blood, come out of Charlie's chest, and then kind of his whole body recoil and go limp, and basically everybody just screamed and fell to the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, they are not guessing. They are providing a description that never happened. It never happened. There was never a pooling of blood near Charlie's heart. Never happened. It was very obvious if you were anywhere near where Charlie got hit, and actually it came out sideways, the blood came out sideways, and I hate to be graphic and describe that, but it's important to remember that, and we all saw the video, okay? And I told you his shirt was clean. And yet they described that as if it was pre-planned for them to go out there. I'm going to investigate these people who came out here and said this right near his heart. I told you my theory is that the shape charge was intended to hit his chest, but something went wrong because a shape charge, like I said, can be directed, but it is not an exact science. I do not think they ever intended for the shot to be public. I don't think they ever intended for it to hit his neck. I think his mic, the second redundant mic, was rigged, and it was meant to hit his chest. He was wearing a white shirt. Those descriptions were meant to make sense because they are the instant ones that came out. They're speaking to NBC News, a pooling of blood around his heart. You never saw that, sir. How did you get on NBC News? I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out who these people are. Because that is way too specific. They are providing false witness intentionally. And then I think they had to pivot. Because actually, the shaped charge accidentally, as opposed to hitting his chest, and causing that 30-06 diameter, as would happen with a pet and explosives, as we've demonstrated to you in the past, it accidentally, because of how Charlie was crouched, went up and hit his neck. And that ruined everything. That ruined everything. It was problematic. It's the reason why Terryl then had to scramble to get the cameras down, because they were never supposed to see it. They could have said reasonably that a 30-06 got eaten by Charlie, much more reasonably, obviously, than saying that the chicken bones in his neck stopped it because he ate vegetables. They panicked. That's why Terrell's nervous on the phone with me. Again, this is my theory, and I am now very much sticking to it. Okay? They panicked. It's the reason Erika had to step out. That's why she would have gotten on the phone with Terryl so quickly, because I was going, why is Terryl saying, well, I didn't want Erika to relive, oh, that's why I did it. He didn't have an answer. He was nervous. It was crazy. But he acknowledged it. He spoke to Erika immediately. Why did you speak to Erika immediately? Why would you bother a quote-unquote grieving widow with the nonsense of a camera behind his head that shows nothing? Why did you jump specifically to grab that camera's SD card and then lie and say, Andrew Colvett, people were stealing stuff? Buddy, we have eyes. We saw you take specifically the SD card and you left the camera. Which is more expensive? They panicked. I believe this. They panicked big time because the plan did not go as expected. In my opinion, I have not seen any convincing evidence to the contrary. And now that I comprehend how a shape charge works, and I am now receiving emails from people telling me that at Fort Huachuca, they could have put together this rigged mic. I'm trying to comprehend what they said. They said they have a department that works in signals, and I am communicating with people who know more about that. But if I find out they assemble things like this at Fort Huachuca, things are going to get a lot more interesting. Anyway, back to the grieving widow. Now, her story has adapted a lot. She lies. Erika lies. Erika is a liar. She lied to my face. I get the right to say that. She lied to me. She lied to you. She lied to everybody when she said Andrew went rogue. good on you, Andrew. What a gentleman to take that heat, having people calling you stupid and just pretending you went rogue when in reality you were colluding with Erika to present this Superman of Steel lie because Charlie ate veggies. Some credit, a little bit due to you. But because I think of our public pressure following the release of the doctored footage of Charlie Kirk appointing her to the position of CEO, her story that she sat down, planned, and told Megyn Kelly, you could see, as we showed you in that absurd Daily Mail article, that the story was beginning to shift, right? Suddenly, it was the footage never really mattered. Everyone knew that was Charlie's plan for her to assume the position, even though he never put it in his will. We all knew that that was the master plan. Well, Erika's no longer speaking about the Aspen event. I think they'd like very much to move on from the Aspen event because liars lie all the time. And she's now talking about the plan. There was always this plan that nobody was privy to. If you were listening to Charlie's lips and the words coming out of them, he was very clear that women should not become the CEO of any company under any situations, even if their husbands are alive. But apparently there was privately a discussion where he said, but if I get killed, I want you to do it. And she recently went to Illinois to lie through her teeth. I'm going to prove to you she lied through her teeth. It was like some educator summit. And here's what she had to say. The newer story now about her stepping into the 80-hour-a-week position formerly occupied by her husband of the CEO and chairman, as the CEO and chairman of a $250 million organization. She's going to ramble a bit, as people tend to do when they're spinning tales. She's also going to give an evil look for no reason. Take a listen.
I am so grateful that Charlie had me involved in literally as much as possible with Turning Point USA, TPUSA Faith, other programs within the Turning Point USA umbrella. So much so to the point when everything happened, there was a 0% learning curve here. So I didn't walk into the office for the first time being like, wow, what is this place? There's 6 buildings. But before all of this, I used to take the kids to the office pretty much daily. Sometimes because like Gigi would have dance class and stuff like that every other day, whatever, but I would bring them in because I wanted them to see Daddy doing his radio show. I wanted them to be able to see running around the offices, having fun and making friends with some of the employees because they would give them gifts. Like it was a family, and it still is a family, and that's the way that the organization has always operated. And so when it came to the moments after everything happened, I didn't look at the room and say, Huts, who are you? I didn't. I knew all of them by name. I know a vast majority of our staff by name. I know their families. I know their backgrounds. I know what programs they're working on.
And we actually cut out the part that I wanted to also show of her saying that her and Charlie had these conversations. I don't know if you can pull it. I'd like the longer clip of her talking about how her and Charlie worked together and they had the private conversations where she does that like evil look to the side. So try to find that while I'm speaking about even what she's saying, because this part is important too. So 2 things I'd like to say is the first thing is that obviously she's lying through her teeth. Just from a common sense perspective, she's lying through her teeth because, and we didn't show you this part, but we will. She's going to talk about how her and Charlie always spoke about it. She talks about the plan. She says there's no daylight between us, okay? And like I said, we'll show you this clip. You had private discussions. There was no daylight between you. He was telling you everything that was happening every single day, and you knew how every department was operating as an quote unquote emergency plan. She's lying. Okay. I said she's lying so badly, it should frustrate you that she's even attempting it because it's almost an historically asinine lie. I actually turned to my producer and I said, she has to actually be the first woman in the entire world, in the history of the world, since Sumerian civilization, that has taken over her husband's corporate position as CEO and chairman after he died. I said, I would actually just bet that off the top because that's common sense. This doesn't happen ever, like literally ever. So we asked ChatGPT, where are the women that do this? This is so normal and we're all crazy for realizing that this is not normal at all. And here is what ChatGPT came up with, okay? First, they give us Ellen Gordon, okay? Oh, okay, I say great. She took over Tootsie Roll Industries after her husband, Melvin Gordon, died. But actually, no, not mentioned is the fact that it was her family's company They had a controlling interest in the company. And then her husband was brought in. She was already working there for years while he was alive, first as the vice president of product development. Then she went on to become the senior vice president. Then finally, she became the president and the chief operating officer of the company. Again, that her family owned the controlling interest in a position that she maintained until she died. So she just wore one more hat effectively after he died. And it was her family's company. The second example they gave us was Catherine Meyer Graham. I said, okay, maybe there is one. Well, actually, the second one they gave us is Erika Kirk, which is hilarious. The third example they gave us, they just threw in a contrast, so it's not an example. It says, actually, GM did not appoint a spouse after a CEO's death. This is common in large corporations. By contrast, spouse succession is more common in founder-led or family-controlled organizations. Then they gave us Catherine Graham, okay? Catherine Meyer Graham, sure enough, she did take over for her husband, Philip Graham, as the publisher of the Washington Post after he died. But again, it doesn't count because actually it was her family's company. Her father had purchased the Washington Post out of bankruptcy. He was the head of the Federal Reserve. And then he said, hi, you're my daughter's husband. You should run the company. And then when he died, she took over her family's company as the publisher. Eugene Meyer was her father, like I said, who purchased the Washington Post right out of bankruptcy. So no. And by the way, I should say she had a background herself in publishing and in writing and went to school for writing and worked at magazines. We could not, and I kept looking, strenuously. We could not find a single example in human history where someone's wife just assumed their corporate role as CEO and chairman of their company following a death, not even an assassination, just a death. Generally speaking, we challenge you to go out there and find the woman who did this, especially as a stay-at-home wife who knows nothing about the company. Erika is just pretending that she's involved, okay? Miriam Adelson could have been the closest example. She came up on a list because she took over Sheldon's casino gambling business, it said, when he died in 2021, but that also was not accurate because it was actually them together that had a controlling interest. It's a publicly traded company, and she simply inherited his shares, right? In his will, I should mention, as the proper beneficiary of his shares, his wife, who he was together with for decades. And no, she's not the CEO. She never was the CEO. And I don't think Miriam Adelson wants to be the CEO. And I should say that this is exclusively now a human history feat that has been accomplished by Erika Kirk alone, who happens to be, by far, when you weigh her against all of the women that I just named, the dumbest and least accomplished person out of all of them. Okay, Erika can't get through a speech that's pre-written without a blunder, without saying something ridiculous. Everything she says is managed. She has no background in anything. No, she was not at the office every day. She's a liar. She lies about everything. I was genuinely shocked to hear those words come out of her mouth because I speak to everybody. I have people inside, people who have been fired at the company. And one of the things they kept complaining about was that Erika doesn't know anybody. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't even know their names. And that was becoming a sticking point for a lot of these people. You remember even when Aubrey got fired, she had said to Andrew Colvett, nobody knows who she is. If you want my honest opinion about her, people do talk about her because we don't know who she is. Past and current employees were positively astonished by the lie that Erika is saying that she already knew everybody. And you don't have to take it from past employees or future employees or current employees because Erika herself admitted this. She forgot. She has bad memory. That's why you shouldn't lie unless you have a great memory. You shouldn't lie at all. But if you're going to lie, you should have a really good memory. She herself admitted after the Super Bowl, she jumped on the call to thank everybody and to say that she was looking forward to learning their names because now the kids are at the office and the kids come home with stories and the kids now know the names of the employees. And she said she was looking forward to spending time and learning the names of all the employees. Take a listen.
I'm going to be doing something kind of like a lunch with your department
I sent you?
Style thing because it is on my heart so badly. I would love to sit down with each and every one of you individually. I want to know your name, your face, like be able to pray for you guys and really just know you. And so since I can't do individually just yet, because that would be a long day and time and month and year to do that. I'm going to be conjoining it through departments so we can make them very small and intimate, maybe 3 people at a time, and have lunch with you guys just to hear your heart and hear your stories about Charlie. To be honest with you, that would be amazing, and your memories with him.
Erika just said she didn't know the employees. It would take her months. She literally says, I want to know your names. I want to know what you're working on. She's on that stage saying the exact opposite. She's a liar. She lies all the time, and we just have to take it. We just have to take it. She just gaslights, and they keep going. And anyways, he's queued it up now to the point that I was talking about earlier, where she even suggests that this was like some conversation Charlie and her were having privately, and he just could not memorialize this in a will. He was so brilliant, but this one thing he never memorialized in a will, and you would think he would, given it went against everything he ever stated publicly about women in the workforce, but here it is.
And we just like anyone else. I mean, we had a emergency plan, which obviously we never thought would have to be executed on, but it's one of those things where we obviously have had the conversation of, God forbid, if something happens to you or myself, what's the plan? We were not foreign to death threats, or I personally got rape threats. We have kidnapping threats. Like, it's not something that's foreign to us. So it was a conversation that needed to be had. And of course it's uncomfortable, but life is life. Life is short. It's good to know that you have a plan. So all along,
she's lying. She just lies.
Charlie and I, we confided in the team. It wasn't an unknown thing. God forbid if something happened, this is the route we're going to take. I am so grateful that Charlie had me involved in literally as much as possible with Turning Point USA, TPUSA Faith, other programs within the Turning Point USA umbrella. So much so to the point when everything happened.
Okay, now we can come out of it. It's again, she never even thinks through common sense. Okay, so for everyone who is married out there, okay, what she's saying about if something ever happens to us or one of us, that's a conversation people have. That's actually the reason they establish wills. It's the very reason they establish wills. In no relationship ever, go play this game, go out. Does anybody say, I want to make sure you step into my role at work? Nor do people generally know every bit of what their husband or wife is working on at work. Okay, my husband and I run a business together. I can't tell you what his day-to-day looks like. If your husband goes to work, I was just saying to this guy, I'm like, could you imagine if your wife was just like, oh, I knew exactly, I can just do the job. I can be an executive producer. He told me everything. I knew the ins and the outs. That's actually not normal. That's not normal. And she's lying. She was not at that office every day. She did not know their names. And she admitted herself in the audio that I just played to you that she did not know their names, and she needed to spend time getting to know everybody's faces, their names, and what they were working on. So why does she lie so easily? Again, this is her news story now. Forget Aspen. They want everybody to forget Aspen and the doctored footage. They want to move on from that. And now it's, well, the whole team knew this plan. This was the plan. We just didn't Charlie didn't put it on paper. But it was the plan for me to become the first woman in human history, forget breaking the glass, shattering the glass ceiling, ever in the history of the world, to take over her husband's role as CEO and chairman, having had nothing to do with the company except for helping out with Faith. TPUSA Faith, bringing on the crappy pastors who lie about everything. That's Erika's accomplishment. The relationships with people like Victor Marks and Rob McCoy. Even in her little minute contribution, she failed. She failed. Everything that she brought forth to Turning Point USA that she was attached to, and in Charlie's final presentation, which runs 2.5 hours long, he doesn't say Erika is involved in everything because she's lying. He says one sentence, Erika helps out with Faith. That's it, because that's all she did. How does she do it? How does she do it? Outside of being a psychopath, there's no other way that she can do it. No other woman has tried to pull this off in human history. That's all I'm saying. We'll be right back after a quick break. All right, you guys, right now, there's a new generation of mothers and fathers that are rising up, parents who want to be there for their babies, build strong families, and create a future that is filled with compassion, courage, and love. But for many expectant parents, that positive pregnancy test can initially feel completely overwhelming. They're asking themselves, can we do this? Are we ready? What will our future look like? And that's where my friends at PreBorn step in. Through PreBorn Network clinics, expectant parents receive a free ultrasound, compassionate care, parenting resources, and a conversation about the hope that is found in Jesus Christ. And when a mother and father see their baby on that ultrasound screen for the very first time, everything can change. Fear gives way to connection, uncertainty turns into hope, and suddenly a future that is filled with life feels very possible. That's why your support of PreBorn matters so much, and for just $28, PreBorn can provide one free ultrasound and help equip a new generation of parents to choose life and build strong families. To donate, simply dial pound 250 and say the keyword, which is baby. That's pound 250 baby, or visit preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. I also want to remind you guys about Kikoff because time flies faster than we expect, but when it comes to your goals like building credit, it's never too late to start making real progress. Kikoff is the #1 credit building app in the App Store, with plans starting at just $5 a month. There is no credit check, no hidden fees, and absolutely no interest. In fact, users starting with credit under 600 see an average increase of 86 points just by making an on-time payment. Here's how it works. You make your payments, Kikoff reports that positive activity to the credit bureaus, and your credit can grow really fast. They even offer rent reporting, so the payments that you're already making can help build your credit as well. And you can sign up in minutes right from your phone. And with AutoPay, you will never miss a payment. So join over 1 million users that are building better credit the smart way. Start building credit with Kikoff today and get your first month for as little as $1. That's 80% off the normal price when you go to getkikoff.com/Candace today. Again, that's Kikoff, Kikoff, without the C, getkikoff.com/Candace.
Must sign up via kickoff.com/Candace to activate offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers first month only, subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first-year credit score impact of plus 86 points between August 2024 and August 2025 for Kickoff credit account users who started with a score below 600, who paid on time, and who had no delinquencies or collections added to their credit profile during the period. Late payments may negatively impact your credit score. Individual results may vary.
All right, let's check in on some of Erika's pastors, her contribution to Turning Point USA. You guys are in luck, actually, because today we have another installment of our Smash series, Whose Pastor Is This?, where we show you clips of a Sunday sermon and try to figure out who in America is actually spending their Sunday listening to this individual on stage preach at them. And today's is extra special because it's Rob McCoy, Pastor Rob McCoy, Mikey McCoy's daddy. He brought down the house this Sunday. Maybe it was past Sunday. I don't know. At Encounter Church in Vegas, holy city of Vegas. And I want to thank the ex-user, Ali Top Files, for putting this on my radar. That's how I saw it. Anyway, you imagine you get to church, you're fired up, you're ready to hear the good word. Pastor McCoy, take it away.
Candace doesn't have any receipts, and it's a carnal Christian soap opera. And you're suckered into it, and she's making $800,000 a week. And you're attacking a widow. Wow. On innuendo, supposition, vain speculation, and it's shameful. Wow. When you should be caring for a widow. Yes.
It's just amazing. Like, first off,
she's going to go bankrupt. This next one with Charlie's chief of security, Brian, this she's done. But here's the thing. We ended the Salem witch trials in 1692 in America. And it was a minister who ended them. His name was Increase Mather. And they had murdered 19 people. And you know why they did it? They had spectral evidence. You know what spectral evidence is? I had a dream. Charlie spoke to me. Sound familiar? Hello? Some of you don't want to nod because you've been watching that garbage. I had a dream. Spectral evidence was outlawed because the scripture said 2 or 3 witnesses. 2 or 3 witnesses.
Not him coming at his congregants. Some of you don't want to nod because you've been watching this garbage. No, they don't want to nod because this is the last time they're going to show up to this church. How? Please walk me through it. How does someone go on Sunday and hear a pastor just speaking about Candace Owens? The lie that he is telling there, $800,000 a week on my show. You can't just be out there saying stuff like that. Even X had to clock him on the lie. Like, no, he just wildly exaggerated that. It's kind of like his Mikey had blood all over him because they just lie. It's just crazy. $800,000 a week. I told my team, if we were making $800K a week, I'd buy them all Bentleys. I don't even like Bentleys. I think it's kind of an ugly car. Maybe like Range Rovers, it looks better, but Bentley like sounds more expensive or whatever. So I'd bet I'd get them all Bentleys if that was the case. He's just saying stuff. How do people attend these churches and think that they have anything to do with God? It's amazing to me. He's talking about my lawsuits. Who got up that morning and was like, let me get church. I want to go into the week with the energy. I want to hear the New Testament. I don't know who walks into that church and leaves feeling spiritually renewed. Who? Send me an email. I need to know who the congregants are who sat there and listened to him riff about Brian Harpole suing Candace Owens and left feeling anything other than like, ugh, I gotta go. I gotta find a new church. Maybe I'm going to become Catholic. Yeah, I love this, by the way. I wish him every stage. I wish him to lie all across America. I want him to go on tour. I love Erika's very many pastors. I love Victor Marks, who says he's no longer a pastor, but he was kind of a pastor for a little bit, but he's still doing the prayers on Erika and Charlie. I love this guy, Rob McCoy, who just can't tell the truth when he hits the stage and is hoping for people to be bankrupted and is talking about the Salem witch trials. I love it all. I love it all. Because people wake up to the mega church and these minor pastors grifting Judeo-Christianity. You wake up to what it's actually about, which is just protecting the state of Israel and attacking anybody who calls them out for their various genocides around the world. Anyway, speaking of which, I'm shocked he didn't mention Tucker Carlson in his sermon. It's usually a package deal. It's Tucker Carlson and Cameron Owens. Especially because Tucker has been trending all weekend for saying the quiet part out loud regarding Charlie Kirk's death. He was on the Can't Be Censored podcast, and here's what he had to say.
Well, you're never going to hear me whine about threats ever to me, because I got on this voluntarily. I know I got fired after 15 years, the highest rated show in American cable television. And I got fired for my opinion. So and I'm not whining at all. I'm so grateful that I got fired. I'm just saying it's not like I didn't know what the price is. I do know what the price is. Charlie Kirk was murdered.
Yeah.
And he was not murdered for his opinions on transgenderism, obviously. He was, I believe, and most people who knew him well as I did and was friends with him as I was, believe he was most likely murdered for his evolving views on Israel. So I get it. A lot's at stake. The world is at stake. But from my perspective, I have a duty to say what I think is true. I'm often wrong. And I always say that because it's a fact. I have been wrong a lot, and I may be wrong now. But I am sincere. I'm saying what I believe is true, and I'm going to continue doing that no matter what.
How everyone in the entire world feels. They're asking us to look at zero plausible evidence that points to the fact that Charlie was stressed the night before over transgenderism. This isn't like, Matt Walsh in What is a Woman Prime. Then you'd go, okay, maybe I could see a trans person. Charlie Kirk murdered for his views on transgenderism when the night before he tweeted that he was left no option but to abandon the pro-Israel cause because of how severely they were bullying him, threatening him, using finances. The night before, he's talking to rabbis, Israeli rabbis, Josh Hammer, all of them saying if they were just helping him fine-tune his debate skills, because Charlie wasn't, doing that for a living and smarter than every single one of these people. No, he needed advice the night before. No, you guys were all on the text chain where he said this. Your conversation clearly was related to the text that he dropped where he said, you've left me no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause. That's common sense. And you keep bragging about the fact we were the last one to talk to him. Yeah, that's the problem. He then sends a message and says they're going to kill me. And we're supposed to believe that after hanging up with Josh Hammer and Rabbi and the rabbi on a Zoom call, having told them that he was done being bullied because Zionists fall into all of the stereotypes. We're supposed to believe that night he texted security and said, I'm worried a trans person's going to murder me. No, it defies common sense. We reject it. Okay? It defies everything that happened that day. Defies common sense. Everything you're telling us happened that day defies common sense. Okay? Charlie wasn't hit with a 30-06 bullet in the neck. He wasn't. I'm sorry. Didn't happen. Did not happen. And it didn't happen. And Erika couldn't scramble fast enough, and Terryl couldn't scramble fast enough, and new witnesses the next day at 4 a.m. in the morning saying he got shot in the neck. Couldn't scramble fast enough. In my opinion, allegedly, nothing adds up. Show us something solid. We don't need influencers who formerly worked for the Department of War coming and making videos and telling us, well, don't believe your own eyes. Nope, we're going to believe our own eyes this time. We're going to believe our own eyes this time, if that's cool. And that ain't a grieving widow. Anyway, Blakey Neff responded. I want you to know why it's important that he responded to the Tucker thing, because he used to work for Tucker Carlson. And I want to say, Tucker, if you're watching, I told you so. Tucker was so nice about Blake Neff. So nice. So nice about Erika. So nice about Blake Neff. Said, I know these people, blah, blah, blah. Of course, Blakey Neff, you could see how quickly he would have stabbed Charlie in the back as he just stabs Tucker right into the back. And he tweeted this. Actually, those of us who knew Charlie best, a group that doesn't include Tucker, do think that Tyler Robinson did it and was motivated by transgender radicalism. Tucker is lying. No, Blake Neff, you're lying. And some audio is going to show that the majority of people at Turning Point USA don't believe Tyler Robinson did it or acted alone. We'll have that later this week. I know some other podcasters are working on that, namely Baron Coleman. But you're lying. And the fact that you do it to cover up and you stab Tucker in the back, or I guess in the front in this circumstance, lets us know what you would do to Charlie Kirk. You weren't one of his best friends. You're like an annoying person that somehow got onto his podcast. Nobody really knows how, actually. I'd like to know how. Oh, I know. I was helping him with his debate points. Charlie, man. After I left, he must have gotten really bad at debating. Everyone was helping him. Rabbis, pastors, priests, his wife, everybody was helping Charlie Kirk learn how to debate in his 10th year of debating on college campuses. So those kids must have really gotten wise or something. He was terrified, excited the night before, thought he was going to die, but also very excited the night before, woke Gigi up or something. There's a lot going on, a lot of emotions. Terrified, texting his security, they're going to kill me after a day of arguing with Zionists, but he was talking about trans people, and then he was really excited the next day. None of it makes sense. Anyway, countering Blake, obviously, is the fact that the exact opposite was said while Blake was there on Charlie's show after he died by Andrew Colvett. Take a listen.
I really want people to understand, Tucker, you and Charlie had such a unique and special bond and relationship. It was a deep friendship, and you both had each other's back in an
he
incredible
had my
way.
back.
You had his back,
Holy
too. I know
smokes.
those stories as well.
Yeah. And I promised I wouldn't get into any of that, but I will say, and I'm not going to, but I will say, because I want this to be about
I'm gonna come out of this
Jesus
as
and
wrap on time.
his love for Jesus
When we,
and what he did to spread the word of
get
Jesus
back.
throughout the world. But I will just say this, that whenever I would come and do a gig for you guys, which was a lot because I really enjoyed it, and he was so kind to invite me and defend my being there, but I would always, he's the only person I did this with, I would always say, hey, let's meet in my hotel room or have a meal. I loved talking to him. And it wasn't just to catch up on everything that's going on in the political world. He would always bring it back to God every single time. And it was there's no one around. So he didn't need to be oh yeah, I really love God. It was just us. And he'd be talking about that.
And you would come to Phoenix and you would reach out to, it was I have so many memories of Charlie being I got to do dinner. Who are you doing dinner with? Oh, Tucker's in town. I got to meet up with him.
Always.
Blake Neff is a liar. He is a coward. He is a backstabber, and he is made of the stuff that you would expect from a person who would betray Charlie. You proved yourself to be a deceitful traitor by pretending he was not close to Tucker Carlson. Everybody knows that he was close to Tucker Carlson. He confided with him. Just like everybody knows that me and Charlie were friends. You guys are trying to rewrite his history while we watch live, and we're not going to stand it. You're trying to rewrite history and make it so that his close friends were Josh Hammer, Laura Loomer, Jigsaw, Sawface, you're now allowing to kind of edge into and pretend that he was her advisor. He came to me for advice about the woke right. Oh, he was upset about Tucker Carlson and confided into Laura Loomer. Are you guys out of your minds? How do you live with yourselves? How do you do it? I want to understand it. How do you guys wake up in the morning and look yourselves in the mirror, knowing that you didn't just betray Charlie, you betray him every single day, every single moment, and the entire world knows it. Every time Blake Neff opens his mouth, a conspiracy theorist gets his wings. That's a fact. An absolute fact. These people are despicable. Oh, Charlie and Candace didn't speak since 2019. You liars. Sending people out to write hit pieces, trying to I can't even imagine having passed away and watching my worst enemies be given my legacy by my own wife, yielding the stage to Ben Shapiro. Like we were going to allow that. We're not going to allow it. I said from the very beginning of this entire thing, I want war with all of you, and I'm so glad that I'm getting it. We'll be right back after a break. All right, you guys, do you owe back taxes? Do you have maybe years of unfiled returns? Maybe you file every year and still can't get ahead because the balance keeps growing. Maybe you withdrew money from a 401k or an IRA and suddenly got hit with a tax bill that you never expected. Whatever caused the problem, one thing is certain, the IRS penalties and interest keep adding up every single month. And if you don't have a plan now, you could end up owing even more next tax season. Before the IRS starts sending you more letters, garnishing wages, or freezing your bank accounts, call Tax Network USA. They've been helping taxpayers nationwide for more than 15 years, resolving back taxes, unfiled returns, and serious IRS problems. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Right now, they're offering a free IRS investigative call to find out exactly what you owe and what options you have to fix it. So call 866-686-1651 or visit tnusa.com/Candace. Again, that's tnusa.com/Candace. Also want to remind you guys about American Financing because in today's uncertain economy, American Financing is helping families find a way out of the high interest trap. We're heading into summer, but the economic clouds aren't clearing for most middle-class families. Between persistent inflation and the cost of daily life, you're likely feeling the pressure. And you've worked hard for your home and probably have more equity in it than you realize, yet the summer surge is forcing many to rely on credit cards. It's an exhausting cycle, but American Financing understands that 2026 requires a real strategy. That's why they have salary-based mortgage consultants, because with mortgage rates in the fives, their customers are saving an average of $800 a month by wiping out high-interest debt. That's money that stays in your pocket to fight back against rising costs. No upfront fees, no pressure, and if you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments. So call American Financing today at 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. All right, you guys, top comment from the last episode is by just focusing on who killed Charlie Kirk, you have discovered there's so much more going on in our corrupt government. You know, my sense is just it's global trafficking. I think Charlie was invited to join the global trafficking ring. That's my opinion based on everything that I have seen. That's what it looks like to me. And through the mechanism of churches and mega churches, a lot of that global trafficking has been covered. Think while you still can. Chewing the Void writes, Erika could clear up a lot of the speculation in a single afternoon. She has now spent 9 months proving that she won't. Erika cannot do that because she is not intelligent enough to be hosted for an interview. That's not scripted. She can't sit there and answer questions. If you think that that girl is capable of what Charlie was capable of, watching his last presentation, just how quickly his mind worked. If you think that that girl can speak to you or answer basic questions about a balance sheet, you're an idiot. She has no idea what's going on. She is what she's always been, a pageant girl. Tell her lines that she has to remember and she can utter them back to you. And usually it's not with perfection. Usually she slips up even with the lines that have been pre-written for her. And I know for a fact that in past interviews, scripts were handed to her before she went out at the very beginning of this thing. It's a fact. Not a suspicion, a fact. Mikey McCoy, Stacey Sheridan, they have been the directors helping Erika memorize her lines. That is not a real person. That is not a real grieving widow, and I simply don't care. Anyway, I want to move on also to this. I want to show you guys quickly this email that we got, another email regarding Pettin. We're taking a look at what happens at the Fort Huachuca base. We need to do a little bit of research, but this person wrote, hey, Candace, I'm not sure if you'll ever even read this because I know you're busy, but I have some information and opinions to give you on the mic. My boyfriend and I both work with explosives. We both are military EOD, explosive ordnance disposal techs, which is more commonly known as military bomb techs. Anyway, as far as the Pettin, we pronounce it Pettin. Thank you for telling me. It's the main component in military and commercial blasting caps. Each blasting cap has less than 1 gram of Pettin and deals major damage. We have seen so many videos and know people who are missing fingers or went blind from mishandling these blasting caps. Anyway, I'm not sure about the Tennessee explosion that you were talking about, but I know that it's very easy to either make your own explosives or steal from the military, police, or commercial areas. As far as the shaped charge, it is very common in IEDs, and copper is the most common. But to give you a sense of how easy it is, you can use a wine bottle to make one as well. I know this won't help progress your theories, but me, along with my tech friends, all believe it was the mic. We could definitely be biased since we deal with IEDs, but I just thought that you should know that a lot of people who deal with rifles, explosives, and improvised explosives do not believe it was from a gun. Please reach out if you have any questions. Thank you. Like I said, we've been receiving tons of these emails from people in the military. And the reason why I show you these things or people that deal with explosives is because you're going to have to contend with a bunch of morons on the internet telling you that it's not possible. And they have no idea what they're talking about. They didn't even watch the episode. They just get their marching orders and try to make it seem as though it's not possible for a shaped charge to come out of something that is the size of the beeper. It's actually what the Israelis specialize in, as I've demonstrated to you guys. And this, to me, is the theory that has the most legs, and we will be continuing to spend time on it because every single piece of the puzzle comes together when you imagine that he was actually taken out by his redundant mic and the characters that were around him sort of boiling the frog and getting him accustomed to having that redundancy, which was not a feature when I toured with Charlie for 5 years. That's all I'll say. Anyway, a couple more comments today. I think we are over time. Scrolling down, who do we have? We have U.S. flagpole guy writes, Brian Harpole brought Charlie's bag to Sean like a cat brings a mouse to its owner. Why was it not in evidence? Great question, which I asked. Why was not in evidence? But nothing went to evidence. The microphone didn't go into evidence. It went, for a photo op with Erika in front of donors as she raised $40 million at Mar-a-Lago. Everything was just sort of conveniently given back at Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk's phone should have been kept into evidence. It wasn't. It was given back, as we know, very quickly returned to Erika. And that is why they needed to brand her as a grieving widow so people wouldn't ask these sorts of common sense questions. Why is evidence being handed back to his wife? Right? Doesn't make any sense. Jenna writes, Happy Father's Day to George. I love the stories that you share and the pics of the kids. You two are great parents. We also just really love being parents. If you can't tell, baby number 5, our kids are just the best. I know I'm biased, but somebody actually has to have the best kids, and I think it's us. They're just awesome. They're fun. They're social. They're very funny. They have such a great sense of humor, and they just make it all worth it. Just Happy writes, I knew it. Congratulations, Queen Candace. Christ is king indeed. What a blessing. Yes, it is a blessing. And you guys did know. I don't know how you knew before I knew, but I must have a really bad attitude when I'm pregnant with these boys. It's now a frat house, by the way. I'm raising a little Army 300 style, so I wouldn't. Cabot Phillips. I'll see you when I see you on the playground. Les is Mo Ritchie writes, your show titles and your sense of humor are unrivaled. I love how you turn the tables on the trolls. My college-aged son sent posts and asked, Mom, have you seen this? Could it be true? I said, I don't underestimate Candace. Go Max. Christ is king. Yes, this world is crazy, and a part of it is psychological, and they're always playing these games and wanting you to be fearful to live your life. Life is short. We've learned that lesson from Charlie, and so live it fully. Live your life fully, say what you want, do things that actually matter, tell the truth, as Tucker Carlson stipulates. He is in a position where he is required to tell the truth and not to give into this nonsense. There's a lot of money to spend nonsense. I'll tell you what, I might make $800,000 a week if I flip sides. I hear it's going around. I show faith by works. I bet I could get $800,000 per week if I lied to you and told you not to think and spun crap to you like, no, it's a modern day miracle. 30-06 just gets stopped and bounces down and ricochets and then explodes into somebody's stomach and he just ate it. What a blessing. Like, I could do that, but I can't. I actually can't do that. Least of all when I'm pregnant with a boy. I can't do it. Lindsay Collum writes, just remember there is no honor among thieves. I am so excited to see who folds and how quickly they all turn each other and play victim. I wonder who it will be first. I love your show, your mission, your passion, and your commitment. Thank you. If I had to guess, it would be Blake Neff because he's a weasel. But I'm just guessing. Natalie Chinito writes, congrats for baby number 5. Thank you so much. Ali writes, in Erika's Father's Day post, she wrote, you would always mention more fog, more sparklers. And she used a clip of Charlie at a TPUSA event with sparklers. She literally used a Father's Day post for PR purposes because she gets heat for the sparklers. I know. I actually mentioned it to my team. If you go back, she pretends she doesn't watch everything, but she watches every minute of everything and every criticism that's being lodged at her, because she always tries to wrap it into every public appearance to respond to it. Like even in this recent one, she was like, the kids were dropped off at their grandma's house because people were saying that she doesn't have the best relationship with Charlie's parents. I bet in this upcoming hearing that, what is it now? Is it this week, the Tyler Robinson hearing? Or is it in July? Whenever it was bumped to, that she's going to be there, because people have been saying it's weird that she's never been to any of the hearings at all. If your husband was assassinated, wouldn't you want to attend? I bet you she will go to the next one because she's a psychopath. So she edits her behavior according to what the public says, and she thinks that she can then sell that as if we're not onto her game, while simultaneously claiming that she doesn't listen to the comments and the naysayers don't get to her until she comes in like Janet Jackson, calling out Drewski for a joke while forgiving Tyler Robinson and throwing my name in it for no reason. Well, call my name. I might just be here. I'm here, Erika, and I'm just done. I'm done with Turning Point USA. The lies are just getting to a point like we're not rewriting history. Where Laura Loomer is a friend of his and Tucker Carlson was not. That's done. It's over. You're welcome. Anyway, you guys, if you'd like to support the show, you can head to our website and buy new merch. I think people are saying that we need Blakey Neff merch. I don't know what I said that people want the merch about, because he just gets me so fired up. I don't know what I say half the time. It's like a surge of like boy energy. I don't know. I don't understand it physiologically speaking, why this happens to me, why I want to do hood rat stuff with my friends when I'm pregnant. Can I just be one of those people that just cries at the drop of a hat and just cries all the time? I want to be one of those people. I was more emotional when I was pregnant with my daughter. I didn't want to fight people, that's for sure. I don't know, guys. There are things we don't know, and we can never know. But if you'd like to support the show, head up to the website, get some merch. Easiest way to do it. Join the book club. Head to CandaceOwens.com. I think it's /book club. And yeah, anyway, I have a lot more to tell you guys. Another tidbit, another person who has a memory about Erika Kirk working for the models as their realtor. But I'm going to tell you that tomorrow. We will see you then.